Hi everybody, Adam here. Welcome back to our Lego room. In today's video, we're taking a look at the Lego City and talking about an awesome milestone that we have just reached. We have completed all of the MILS modules that we need to create a continuous two-track loop around the entire city and the layout in general, which is amazing. So excited about this. This has been a really long project. A ton of parts that we've been working through, a lot of building, and just organizing of things in the layout and trying to, figure out the best possible combination of things to get us to where we wanted to be. But we've reached this awesome point. So before I go and connect all of these modules together to create the continuous loop, I wanted to do a quick walkthrough with you of all the modules that we have, some of the choices that we made in terms of breaking things down into individual base plate sections for some of the corner modules and the straightaways, and some of the color choices that we made as well. And then you can keep an eye out in the next day or so. We'll have a video up showing the complete loop, which will be an exciting occasion. And then we can get back to building some trains and building up some more modules for the city specifically, but also for some of the industrial areas around the layout. So let's dive in and take a look at all of these MILS modules. So first off, let's take a look at the corner modules that we've built. These were by far the most time-consuming portion of the MILS conversion. We had two corner modules that we were using previously that we had built and were taking to some of the train shows that we went to. Awesome modules to have, but definitely a lot of parts go into these corner modules. And one of the changes I've made here is for 4 of the 6 corner modules, I've split them into 1x1 base plate components and sections. So it's really easy to take this apart and stick it into a big tote to take to a train show. But then when I bring it back to the layout or when I have it at the show, all the parts will plug in together and it'll function as a big corner module. This is going to be an amazing time savings when I'm going to shows, and it's sort of an ease of transport change. Previously, I had these modules as 2 chunks. So this was a chunk, 2 base plates by 2 base plates. And then this was a chunk with the 2x4 section here. And, it worked, very functional, just really hard to transport in a sort of a space effective way. Because when you're putting multiples of these into a vehicle, it's not always easy to rest other things on top. You worry about parts coming off. So really happy to have these broken down into individual base plate chunks. And I'm going to be, probably not now, I'll probably wait till the next train show, but I'm going to be going in before I take these out and load them up, and I'm going to mark them all on the back with A, B, C, D, E, F, G, etc., to know where each base plate goes in the corner module. So when I pull them out of the bin, just look at the back, quickly get them laid out in their proper configuration, and they'll be ready to go. So super happy about that. We've got the gray corner module here, which is one of the new ones. We have the tan and the darker brown corner modules, which were the existing ones that I had built and was taking to train shows. You can see that these have been, oh, look at that. We got a couple little straggling pieces here that were not separated off for ease of keeping this all nice and separate. Let's go like that and like that. I'll take that off there, and let's make one more change here. Let's go like this. We're making changes on the fly here to finish this off nice. So you can see there, everything comes apart nicely. So really happy about that. This guy is all separated as well. You can see all the different little sections here. So, I think I could get away without labeling these, but I think labeling will just avoid any weird hiccups at, when I'm setting up at a show and trying to move quickly through the setup process. So I think that labeling technique, I'll probably just do tape on the back, on the underside of the base plate to start with. We'll see how that works, and then kind of work from there. So that shows you 3 of the corner modules. Let's take a look at the other 3. So here is another one of the corner modules. Again, everything is nice, separated out, individual base plate chunks there. You'll remember before, this is at the other end of the yard area and the industrial portion of the layout. I had this as gray and black before, but with the darker brown 4x8 plates that I picked up, I was able, I had enough of them that I could do a sort of a bigger conversion and change out some of the colors I had for these corner modules. And I thought this would look better, and I'm pretty happy with the change. I left the black and the gray in there underneath where it was already under the this underlay section for floating the ballast on top, the ballast and track sections that go on top. So I left those there. I didn't want to pick off all of these little tiles and move them over to the new color. I'm going to see how it works. It's not going to prevent me from changing that in the future, but overall, I'm pretty happy with the look of this corner from the color perspective. And I think once the track is laying over top of that, you're not going to really notice any of those little bits of color, or if you do, it's not going to look too odd, I don't think. I think gray and black are pretty reasonable colors to see sticking out in and amongst the edges of the track. So we'll see how it works. I'm also planning on doing some landscaping work around these track sections once everything's up and running. So, that will also help to sort of minimize or diminish how much that extra little bit of color catches your eye. But pretty happy with this module on the whole. And then we've got our last 2 sections here, the last 2 corner modules. These corner modules have stayed in their more monolithic forms. So the 2x2 and then the 4x2 chunks that I was talking about. Only reason I did that, I had these sections already done. I don't necessarily plan on taking these out of the layout in the short term. So I felt like for the sake of time and getting to the complete loop around the layout, I would leave these the way they were for now. Because like I said, it's fully functional. It's not a big deal when it's just staying here in the Lego room. It's only when I'm transporting these out to other locations that it becomes a bigger deal, and it's nice to have things broken down into that one base plate chunks for a corner module. So, we're now up to 4 corner modules that have been converted and are easily transportable to shows and conventions. So I'm happy about that. Usually we only take 2 corner modules. So, I've now got 2 extra ones that are, if need be, can get pressed into action. So I think that's pretty good. It gives me some buffer room. But overall, super happy with these corner modules. The other thing you'll notice about these 2 modules is they were sort of the multicolored modules before, because I put them together when I was running out of the 4x8 plates, and I wasn't, I wanted to finish the modules off even if they didn't look perfect. But what I've done now with that brown plate is I've gone through and changed all the perimeter portions of the modules, which I think looks awesome. Again, it's great to see, especially when it's coming off of this other corner here. It's nice to see that predominantly brown, the very consistent color through the modules. And again, not too worried in the short term about the extra bits of color around the track modules there. That's something that I can fix up in the future. But in the short term, I think it looks good. I like the fact that the brown is the predominant or the sort of majority color through the modules. And once the landscaping and stuff goes in, I don't really think you're going to notice a lot of those color bits. And even if you do, I think they're generally fairly reasonable colors to see around around track and around some of these modules. So not too worried. We'll see how it goes. And like I said, always an option in the future to swap those out and to do a bigger rework of some of these modules, whether it be just to replace some of the plates, or whether it be to do the bigger change, which will be breaking it down into that one base plate chunks throughout the module. So those are the corner modules. Really happy with how those have come together. And like I said, those were the big chunks of the layout, the most difficult parts, just because of how much more difficult the ballast work is with all of the tile work underneath. And then, obviously these are big modules here. There was 12 base plates per corner module. It's a lot of plate to work on, a lot of the underlay for the MILS module. And then, like I said, the tiles over top. Really turns into a lot of parts, but happy with how those have turned out. Now let's take a quick look at some of the other MILS modules that we have been working on. So obviously straight track components make up a large chunk of the layout. The next sort of major chunk compared to the corner modules. And we had a lot of these straight track components already available to us in the layout and from what we've been taking to shows. The big thing that I did here is, converting all of these into just one base plate chunks, so they were easy to transport in the future. The exceptions here, besides all of these one base plate chunks, is we've got some half base plate chunks and some double half base plate sections. I use those when I go to shows just as sort of extra chunks. They help bridge and make numbers work out, between different sections and modules. So I like to keep a few of those around. I'm going to see as I go back through getting everything hooked in together, whether I need to put those into use in the layout or whether I can just keep them to the side for for upcoming shows and having a backlog of modules to pull from as I need things for shows. But really happy now to have all of these straight sections as one base plate chunks. You can see there's a lot of them here. We've got this stack, we've got that stack, and there's another big stack back there. So lots to pull from there, and then we'll kind of play it by ear and see what we need to do with this section here. If they get pressed into action and put into sections of the layout, it's perfectly fine. Those will all go together nicely, and I just need to flag where they are in the layout. So when a show does come up, I know where to go in the layout and pull them out. So that would be the only trick there. And these guys right here, I'd need to rework those a little bit because I don't have any, pretty sure I don't have any sections where I need just one set of track on a module like that. Everything is typically two chunks of track on one half base plate or on one full base plate. So that's the straight track. Next, let's head over and look at our switch over there for the branch track areas. Now, I really love this switch. It's a great switch. We go from the one mainline track there off into two siding areas, which is super useful. I'm not probably going to utilize it, at least at the moment, as fully as I could here in the layout, but this always gets used at train shows that I go to. Super happy to have this module. This is Trix Bricks track that's on here. Now, typically this has been a 2x5 base plate chunk that I've just transported to shows. And similar to the corner modules, that's awkward to take as a big chunk of track and layout. What I've done initially here is I've split off the 1x2 section at the end here. So we've got two individual base plate sections, each with two sets of track on them. That was a relatively easy split off. Something I probably should have done a while ago, but just one of those things that I hadn't gotten around to it, and I was just living with it. But that was an easy change. That now shrinks this down to 2x4 for the big switch part of it. And then those track modules could really be any track module in our straight track collection, but they will plug in very easily to this module. I'm going to leave this as it is now, and I'll get things hooked up and get the trains running around our layout. There still are future changes I could make here to make this module even easier to take out of the layout and to take to shows. Ideally, when I built this, I probably would have used, in retrospect now, I would have done, rather than one base plate, one 32x32 base plate and one 32x32 base plate, I would have done 32x32 and then two 16x32s. And that would let me peel off that outer section of track there, that straight track, which doesn't necessarily need to be connected to this module. Theoretically, you could use this in a situation where you've only got one main line and you want that to branch off into the sidings. So having that second mainline track there attached to this module, while it works for everything that I've done with it so far, is a little bit limiting. So I might rework it to make that change, or at least at a minimum, I could easily split off another couple of one base plate chunks here to make this, at least the straightaway portion of this module, a little smaller and a little more sort of componentized. So that's probably where I'll go in the future. One of those two changes. We'll see how things progress. But the ideal change would be to, basically rework the entire underneath of this module so that outside straight track there could be completely separated, and then it would become a 4 base plate long by 1.5 base plates across module, which would be a lot easier to transport. Typically, a lot of the plastic storage containers that I've found and that I use for moving track and various components of the layout to train shows are big enough to hold 1.5 base plates across, not big enough to hold the full 2 base plates across. So, shrinking the width of this module down would definitely open up some other opportunities for how this could be transported, which would be awesome. So we'll see how it goes. Like I said, gonna leave it like this now. Happy with those two split off. And, as we get closer to our next train show that we go to, which will be in September, we'll consider what to do with this module. But definitely want to keep subdividing this down. Just going to be a question of when it happens. Now, the only other major MILS modules that we have, with the exception of what we have in our city with our roads and our buildings, is the wind turbine chunks here, which are 2x2 sections of MILS modules. I haven't made any changes with these yet. I'm going to get these plugged back into the layout. We'll get the wind turbines up and running. But these are still very much on my to-do list. I would like to think about what I want to do with them going forward. Whether I want to make some changes around the terrain and how the terrain works with the wind turbines. I've also considered possibly subdividing these and having it as 4 chunks that plug in together, which again would make it easier to transport to shows, rather than being, because this is one at 2x2, it doesn't fit into any bin, and it's also something that doesn't really stack well because of the terrain there and the unevenness of that terrain. So this is another thing that's really hard to move around, in and out of the layout to shows. Not bad when it's like this here in our basement in the Lego room, very workable and, a great little section of the layout. But when you're taking stuff to shows, it's a whole other sort of thing to consider. So these will get plugged back into the current layout as they are, but definitely, thinking about what I can do with them. And, if you guys have thoughts or suggestions, definitely interested in hearing those. And we'll be revisiting these in some way over the next few months, because I would definitely like to make improvements to them before that next show, just to really make the transportation of modules and various components of the layout much, much easier. The easier it is to move things, the more peace of mind you have going to a show, but also the more stuff that you can potentially take, because everything just plugs in, sort of Tetris style in a much easier fashion to the back seat or the trunk area of a vehicle. So looking forward to seeing what we can do there. But in general, happy with the progress that we've made here on not only getting all of these MILS modules built for all the track around the layout, but some of the improvements we've made along the way here. So a massive milestone with the Lego City here and in our MILS transition. Really excited about how this has all come together. And it's going to be amazing when this is all plugged in together and we've got trains able to run around the layout again. And, honestly, it's going to feel really good as well. The city and the room in general is a little bit cluttered at the moment. And, it just makes it hard to work sometimes and hard to pick through what still needs to be done and what's in a good enough state. So really happy about being able to now transition into a bit of a tidy up mode, as well as, just getting everything plugged in together and laid out. I think it's going to be amazing and I can't wait. Like I said, you can definitely expect a new video soon with with everything kind of hooked in together. It's going to be an awesome milestone, and basically going to be just pushing to get that all done and laid out, because I think it's going to just open up a lot of projects that we can then do to continue pushing the layout forward once we get past this milestone and this section of the process. So thank you very much for watching, and thank you very much for sort of joining us on this process and path as we've gone from a non-MILS layout to a completely MILS layout, at least in terms of track. Still want to do some conversion stuff to get all of our buildings onto MILS modules, but it's been a long journey, but really excited about the progress we've made and where we're going to be able to go from here. So if you have not subscribed to the channel, please make sure to do so. And like I mentioned, keep an eye out for the next layout video in the coming days here, where we've got everything connected together and we're running trains. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you again soon. Take care. Bye.